Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the final episode of 10 Tips to Crush Your Next Triathlon. Over the course of the last 10 weeks now, we've had our coaches from QT2 Systems come in and talk about every aspect of preparing from a race from the beginning of picking the right race to having a plan to what you do when your plan doesn't go according to plan to specifics on each of the swim, bike, and run, strength training, nutrition, taper. And now here we are. Episode 10, it is race time. And for today, our featured guest is Coach Ann Basso. Welcome, Ann.
Hi, thanks, Rem, for having me today, talking about that final race week. And yeah, that's all the sacrifice you put on is to nail that day. But what does it really mean to nail your day? I guess that is the question you wanna have, and make sure that you appreciate all the work that you have done so far. And also, that final week is to make sure that on the day you can really appreciate all of you have done and be the best you can be. So, how do we start? So, first, just do your checklist for your travel, your race day, training gears, and just visualize before the week how you're going to make the less stress possible that you can do on race week. So it obviously depends on your personality, but if you are like really a bullet list type of person, make sure you already have it ready. So some of my athletes that likes to prepare and not be stressed, they'll go through their checklist and make sure they set up all their race equipment a week before that final week. So get your training bag ready. Make sure that you have your all your fueling on check. Never count on what you can have at the race expo. I mean, sometimes they have a lot of products, but there's two errors you can make. First, they don't have anything. That can happen. And second, they may have things that are very tempting for you to try, that you've always wanted to try but never did. And rule number one, don't try any new race product fueling products on race day. So to avoid any temptation, I will do that even like at least 2 weeks. Remember, when you order online, you may not get your products right away. So for the fueling stuff, I'll start thinking about it at least 2 weeks before the race. At the same time, since you're shopping, you can also make sure that you have all your race hat, the socks that you're going to need. By this time, you should know which race shoes you're going to use. So make sure that the one you have are in good condition. So if they are very torn out, kind of ask yourself the question if you prefer to race in the newer ones. So with 2 weeks, that gives you enough time to warm them out a little bit before you use it. And just don't change again your race shoes. Make sure that you know that that's the one that fit and that you're confident running it. So I'll go a little bit more than a week away. Like 2 weeks is a good time to make sure that you have all the shopping done that you need. And while you do this, the question you want to ask is, where is your race? And kind of check the weather. Is it going to be hot and humid? Does it has the potential to be cold? So you want to be ready for any type of conditions that, to your knowledge, you know that race can have. And if it says it's going to be super bright and sunny, but it's also a region like Lake Placid where you can have rain, just make sure you also prepare for a rainy day. So those type of purchasing thing, you really want to start thinking about it 2 weeks before. But that final week that I started to talk about, it's really about kind of starting seeing things in your in your bags going. So and that comes back to the two type of personality. You may like to just pack your bags as soon as you like just before going out. So if you leave on the Thursday before the race, some people they just like to do it just before it. That's a way for them to be confident they have everything, and they can check that list just before going. And the others, they like to that adds kind of a stress to to their weeks. So if you're that type of athlete, you want to do it the weekend before your race, so a week out. So that's kind of like the big thing, getting your stuff ready for race day. The other thing you want to make sure is when I talked about the weather, you also want to see if you have any athlete guide for the race. Read through it. Even if it's a race that you've done many times before, just check if they didn't change the parking spaces or the dropping of the bike. Some local race, sometimes it's like the morning of the race, but sometimes they change it and make it like an Ironman event race where it's the day before. So you always want to make sure that even if it's a very familiar course to you, that you kind of do that final athlete guide check on the race website, just to make sure that everything is like you expect. And if it's your first and new race, well, don't underestimate all the information that they put in. And you can always, there's always like a info contact that you can reach out if you have any questions. So if that's your first race, you're really not, you've never done a triathlon or very rarely, and that makes you nervous, again, that week before or 2 weeks before, start having your question prepared on all the race logistic is going to be. To do it in advance and kind of do a rehearsal is going to really bring calm into your race week. So that's the thing I would recommend to diminish the stress of the week, because as you get toward the race, it's like when you take the start, your heart rate is going to be very high without doing anything. So when you enter that race week, suddenly time can feel really congested. Like you may be very excited, um, or maybe a sense of overwhelming. So all those little things that you can prepare before, that can be prepared before, because you also add your tapers, so your training volume is lower, so you have a little bit more time. Make sure you eat it before you enter that race week. So like this, on race week, you can really just embrace that time. And that's really something that I recommend everyone, that you put so much sacrifice into your training that you may not even notice. The support of maybe your family or just of yourself, putting all those hours and commitment, having that rigor day in and day out. So the goal is to make that week kind of like your reward week from when it starts on the Monday before the race.
Yeah. I like that a lot. And one thing, as you were talking about this, I was thinking like in the context of Ironman races, that you also have like the 5 race bags, right? And so when I make my list for that, I'm not thinking, oh, I need to bring gels. I'm thinking, how many gels do I need to put in this bag? And how many are going to go in that bag, and like almost pack by bag to make sure that
Yeah,
you have
and
everything,
some
you know.
like you notice, and you can be very experienced and still make that mistake to not
Yeah.
just have all your gels going in. And you often, I think, many of us, even if we have a fueling plan, we take even more gels.
Or, yeah,
Um,
just in case.
so uh, a trick that I like now is to put it in Ziploc. So
Yeah.
again, and if we talk about the context of Ironman, like you said, we have like many bags, and
Mhm.
many things to do actually on the day before the race, and even the day before dropping off all of our stuffs. And it's often in big cities, so there may be traffic, and again, you have that sense of overwhelming and excitement that time kind of go a little bit faster than usual. So I've done that mistake a lot, but now having like Ziploc and prepare. So before I pack into the bags that go throughout the race,
Mhm.
that's a tip, and anyone can find their own, but having like little Ziploc bag and just counting your nutrition for the run, the nutrition for the bike, your maybe pre-race snack if you need, and just label them. And
Mhm.
it's a way to do your check that before it was you could do it on race site because the race were a lot smaller, or if it's a local race, maybe you can still do that. But even so, it's so much better to prepare it before. And again, you won't make that mistake of buying something that you don't need. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, having like little bags, Ziploc for me works, but it can be anything uh, that works out for you. But if you prepare the same way as you do, like this, you as soon as you get into your hotel room or the place you're staying, you take off your stuff from the bag and you can put it directly into the Ironman bag, and that saves a lot of time too, and it brings confidence, and that's really something that you want to do. That as you start thinking about the race is just to bring any confidence that you can bring in. And those little things will help you see that you are prepared for that thing that you've been waiting for so long.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah. Good tips there. So you got it all now. Everything's prepared. You're packed. You're ready. You get to race your race site, or maybe this is before, but like mentally now. I mean, you've done all this work, right? For the past 6 months or year, or you've been training and getting ready for this race. This is your big one, your A race. And but you don't just like, I mean, you can't just show up to the race without a plan, right? So
Yeah.
what do you do for in terms of putting together a plan in terms of what you want your race to look like?
So as we speak, I realized that I progressively bring that in. Actually, it's not like a last minute thing. So the visualization doesn't come just on race day. And if you do it just on race day, it's anything that brings something positive to what you do, even if you don't do it as much as you maybe wish you had, if you give that little time of space, it will always be beneficial. So I'm not saying that if you don't do it 3 weeks out, that you're not going to be successful. But the more you race and the more you do those things, you'll find your own way that works. But visualization of your race course is something I recommend whenever you start being in the groove of your training. Just maybe on a long run, kind of start visualizing where the race is going to be. If it's windy, kind of have that feeling of sensation of hardness. It can be doing a hill and kind of transferring it to a windy day, but seeing yourself into the effort. So you have the days where you feel great, and you may have those moments too on race day. So see how you can use that energy of having really good sensation on race day, and not get into over excitement and pick up your pace. Like in training, we are so much on numbers,
Mhm.
on eating a particular pace, but sometimes on race, if we go too fast, we won't pay attention to it and we just go, but then it's going to hit your heart. So if at that target pace you feel really comfortable on race day, while just take that moment like in training where you're just happy and you're like, yeah, I'm nailing that my race pace and it feels good. And so that's one type of visualization. Then there's the other one is when you have a crappy day and you go, track is a perfect example. You cannot hit your number. You may be even slower than a tempo run, but you know that you have a lot of peripheral fatigue. You've done a lot of training, or maybe also the week at work hasn't gone as planned, and you just have very fatigued leg. So do you often you won't skip it. You're going to do it and just work your best through it. And that's something that is going to bring you so much into a race. The longer you're going to race, it's almost normal to have that moment of
Mhm.
I can't do it. And
Yeah.
you want to make it the shortest time in your mindset. Like whenever you think I can't do it, you kind of want to shut it down and just see what you did in training that helped you going through that hard day and continue your session. Maybe to show your coach that uh, you did it, and maybe you're not happy, but at least you moved through it. But this is a type of session that is going to make you very durable, and that's a type of session that is going to make you not only durable on race day, but very much resilient. So the type, I guess, visualization, but we're starting to train also our mindset to kind of just focus on our controllable goals and just to always optimize what we can do. And that's something we really want to visualize because often when we have that A race where we sacrifice so much, we just want that perfect day. And when the perfect day doesn't happen and we didn't prepare, if we don't have those moments where we visualize to prepare our mindset, we're going to be stuck into that moment. Whereas in training, we often want to, we're so determined to race well that we are just going to keep going and have that focus on the controllable and just being the best that we can be on the training. Because we know if we do it, we're going to be prepared on race day. But we have to consider that we're always human, and race day is still a physical activity where you're going to push your body. So at one point, your body or your mind is going to have the same reaction that you have in training, and that's why you train. Is to prepare for that. So as you visualize or prepare your mindset, you want to, a good visualization technique is actually seeing yourself having a bad day. What can you do? So an easy example is a race where the heat is very high. And you know, often when heat is very high in training, that it makes it very challenging to you. So you want to kind of see yourself going through that moment, but you also know you picked that race for a reason, and it can be Hawaii. So why did you want it to go? And you want to work those positive in the reason why you wanted to do that race, and know that you come for that challenge, and don't be basically don't fight the hardness of your race. So by bringing visualization in your final week, whenever the training starts to fit in, and like I said, if you couldn't do it in the training, even if you do it the day before the race, especially if you're not used to it, it's going to have a very big impact to you. But then you always want to recenter on why you're racing and what you're looking at for this race. And this is going to be your driving force on race day, to shut your mind as much as you can whenever you're going to tell yourself, why am I doing this? Uh, maybe remember all the sacrifice you made, or And why you know this would be an happy moment for you, and that's kind of where you want to shift your mind. And this comes, like I said, in training, but it can also come during race week. And sometimes it's not about doing all that visualization, hard mindset work. It can be just having relaxing time. So that final week, you're going to have less training load. So if you can find just, if you're like have a hard time to relax, well, instead of training, just stay on your couch. Maybe it's a moment to read things that you enjoy reading, or any type of relaxation moment is going to help you actually. Even if you don't think about the race, it's going to help you on race day to have calm in your mind, and it's going to bring the best of your physical ability on the day. So um, again, that it's different strategy, but this will work as well if you bring calmness in the week of the heat of racing, because that's the type of calmness you want to have when you have to overcome a challenge on race day.
Yeah. You know, one thing you said I think is really interesting is that so much of the prep that you do mentally is coming through your workouts as you go along. Like if you have a really good session, I think it's important to know, wow, like I'm not going to feel like that every day. Like it would be awesome if you felt great for every workout, but you won't, but I always tell my athletes this shows you what's possible when you have a bang out
Yeah.
workout. It's like it's not always going to happen, but it shows you what's possible, and you can pull that, back on race day. And if you're having a bad day, just like starting that workout and going and doing your best shows you how much. And so thinking, I love what you're saying is like going back and thinking about all those times that you were able to pull out of a difficult situation and make the best of it. You've done it over and over and over again. So it's like, okay, now race day, you just do it.
Do it.
I mean, an Iron Man, my God, like every possible emotion will go through you a million times, And so like just keeping yourself moving, moving forward.
Yeah, and it's like a good example too is when you're in transition, um, you always time feels completely different. And sometimes you may think you're very slow, but you actually, if you look at the final time, I mean, when you know transition and you do always the same protocol, and sometime you're going to think like, wow, I'm so slow, and you start panicking, and then in the end, if you look at your result, you were not that slow. Like the perception of what you're going through on race day, it's definitely distorted. And it can come on multiple things. So the calm is always what's going to kind of smooth out those perception of things that are not in phase of what's really going on. And I think the more you practice it, obviously in training, that's going to help. But sometimes you also, you have I think sometimes the first timer and the multiple Ironman finisher, they really actually reconnect again um, in some ways. And I always recommend to everyone to see it as their first race, because you're really going to prepare well for it. Because sometimes we start underestimating things or overrating things, and the multiple Ironman finisher is even going to be less prepared than the first timer. So it's always a new tip is always return to the basis. So
Mhm.
if you start thinking overconfidently, or the opposite, like you feel like you're not on it, just think like if you're a first timer, yes, because you do it right. Often the first timer are always going to be very well prepared, but also see it as an experience, and that's something we never want to forget. as long as you read the athlete guide, that you follow your training, um, in the end, the basis is always the foundation of what you want to do. So no matter how much experience you have, you always want to reconnect to it. And I think that's also how you can last long in a sport. And that's also how you can always take away something from your race. So if we talk about that race expectation, I guess that's a new subject, is what you want to accomplish. So they can be having the podium and often a world slot to some world championship event. So others is just doing that target time that they really want to eat, and others is just to complete their first race. But in the end, it's this for everyone, it's the same implication that you want to have. So of course, you want to know that you are prepared for it, but then we never know what can happen on the race day. But something that you will always be proud of yourself is if you know you did the best on the day. And even if you didn't meet that expectation. So for the first timer that wanted to finish the Ironman, but unfortunately something happened and could not. But how did it go to that point? Did it show you, you, the athlete, that you were maybe better at some things that you didn't know? Um, why did you stop? Is it something you kind of knew that could be a limiter for you? So how can you use that experience to be better? So basically, on the race day, it's an opportunity for you to learn and have your best experience on the day. And from this, you can always be proud of yourself when you know you did the best that you could be. And for the person that wanted to be on the podium or world championship, well, who was on that start line? Or, I mean, how deep was the field that day? Maybe you did the best race of your life, and you only see that you didn't get your slot. So maybe all those athletes actually pushed you to be the best you could be. And maybe for the person that if we take an alpha man and want to do 6 hours and you do 6:01, is it really a failure? What you really want to have a clear vision is to know that at each moment of your race, you're going to give the best effort. Like I said, I think in training, every one of us almost, that makes all the sacrifice and commitment to it, you always give the best that you can be on training day. And that's what you want to repeat again on race day. And from this, it's always an experience to grow and evolve. And it's going to turn out your race differently too. You may have a slower start, but with that attitude, you're going to change the way you respond. And maybe you're going to, some new strengths of yours are going to come out because you kind of clear your mind and just want to always move better than you did the step before. And if that step at one point is not as good as you want, use that aid station to make the next step later a better one. But that's how you evolve, and that is part of the excitement of racing. And something we sometimes we forget all of this because we just like I said, want a slot or a specific time that is maybe not possible because you have tornado watch that day or something like that.
Yeah. So this brings up a couple things. I think one is that, I mean, I think you're making the point that not only do you want to plan for race day and be thinking all the time during the day, but also after the race to go through and evaluate what happened and what you can learn from your race. And I think that that's a key point, because no matter what, if you have the best day in the world or you have issues come up, you can learn something from the
And
race.
you know,
And
it's strange, and I'm sure you do too, with athletes sometimes, well, we always watch them racing. Um, but also sometimes you never know their reaction.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think they went well. But sometimes I'm always cautious because I'm like, are they going to see it? Are they going to see that the day was actually a very hard race? Like no matter how often I told them that if you go to that race, it's a hard race. But I think they never trust that part. So and when you see they do really well, sometimes you at least I'm always on the watch out because I'm like, are they going to see it? Because often what the best they do, the less they see it. So um and that's to prepare because that's our topic. That's something you want to prepare for the day is to just enjoy your race basically the best you can do it. You, like it's a passion of yours, so and the race is all the driving force, all that motivation that is going to, if you look back and you see all the commitment you put in, you I think everyone always kind of will surprise himself. Wow, I did so much for this. So on the day, this is really something that throughout the week, bringing that calm, appreciating all you've done, and limiting all the stressors because you don't have your nutrition or you don't have your favorite hat to run with, or you don't know the shoes that you're going to pick, removing all of that because you really want to make this like your gift of all the sacrifice. And people that also have a family to support them, remember that it's also a gift to them because they supported you to that point. So uh, don't be too hard on yourself and just just appreciate that moment. But this happens by limiting all the stressors during the week, making sure everything goes to plan. But that's something we want to maybe hit after is maybe not everything is going to go.
And I want to talk, I mean, you can do all that. I mean, it's so important to plan in advance and think, but part of that planning, I think, is also to go through and think about the things that can go wrong and how you're going to respond. Like if you get a flat tire, what are you going to do about it? So part of that's making sure you have what you need to change your flat, and that's part of your packing, right? And but like what it's come up in various triathlons over the years where the swim conditions are really not great, and how are you going to decide what you do if you know the conditions aren't ones that you're
Great
comfortable
point. And I
with,
think lately we've seen many races where you actually don't have the swim. So it's not
right?
only you're not going to swim, so I don't know how the non-swimmers react. I don't know if it's a blessing of the day. Um, but maybe for the swimmers, they see it a little bit differently. But what's for sure is that it changes the organization of the race. Um, so that's something you want to just be flexible and be aware. That's something that we know now that swims can be canceled. And I even know sometimes for the Ironman, when thunderstorms come, they actually pause the run. And I think this one is probably even harder because you've done all that work and you by that time no matter if you're spot on your nutrition and everything, you're probably exhausted. So what can you do to stay in the mindset of racing? Um, and for both, it's the same. So it always comes back to why you decided to be here. And once you know why you're here, why are your motivation to do this? It's I'll use again that word, stay calm and take that opportunity of maybe more rest. Like sometime canceling the swim, you have an hour more of sleep, so maybe that's not a bad thing. Or it gives you more time to park. So see the positive things that it can bring for your day. Um, when you have the thunderstorm during the run, well, maybe don't analyze your race yet. That can not be a good thing, but um, just have your nutrition, make sure you hydrate and calm. Like if you will come back at home, like a long Saturday workout, and you come back home and you eat and you wait and you go again. And whenever you start going again, don't go out like at the fastest speed of the day. Just maybe work it out first and then find back your rhythm. So it's always kind of taking in the information. Yes, the negative are going to come in first, but then bring out what the positive of it. So maybe during that marathon you were tired, so to have actually that rest, it's giving an opportunity to the body to reset and not having that swim. Like I say, maybe it was a rush week and you're going to have an extra out. I think the race time earlier and earlier, and you have to go there really early now. So maybe to have that extra, even if you're awake, because that's the time you always get up, just to have a little bit more time to get more stretch or appreciate that day is going to help you. So that's for the race day, but then sometimes it's the week where things don't go to plan. So if you're flying and your flight get canceled, well, again, breathe in and breathe out. The more calm again, the more you can reduce the stress of it. Remember the what you want to optimize on the race morning is to be the fresh for your start. So anything, any upsets during that week can add more stress. So now we have a lot of devices to tell us if we're green or not green. But in the end, what if you have used those devices, anytime you have like stress, it's going to add fatigue to it. So don't think that having extra fatigue is going to prevent you from performing. Like I said, you can have during training week a very exhausting week, but have your best workout and you don't know how you perform it. You can wake up on race day and your device say red, but you can have your best day. Um, and sometimes it's green and you don't have your best day. So it's the same thing with that perfect week setup. We think that green is going to make the perfect day, but the red doesn't mean you're not going to have that perfect day. So it's just by how you're going to react to it. And the flight travel sometimes can really add like a day, maybe 2 days. I know it's not easy, but you just want to step back and if you have the opportunity to go home and rest, then take it, because then you can go to your familiar pool or something like that. Maybe sometimes it's best to return home and get to the race later, or sometimes you don't have the option and you're stuck in between the country where you wanted to be. Then add in maybe some walks. Make sure you eat well and you hydrate well. And anytime you can have rest, add it in. So basically, you want to make sure that that thing that is irritating you very much, and maybe sometimes you have to call persons and explain to them, but they don't understand that you're going to do something very important to you. It won't change much. I'm not going to say you're not going to be upset and it's going to be easy, but whenever you return to a moment where you can step back and just reset, do it. It's going to help the day, and know that it's not going to, if you can reset, like I said, you can be red but still perform. And it's not because you have that day where you have things that happen that were not on your list. Well, the next day, if you can make it back on your list, do it, because sometimes you have that some personality, because one day didn't go well, they're going to kind of throw away the list and not follow it anymore. Well, whenever it's possible, just come back to the plan. So yeah, stay calm and reset.
Yeah, I mean, so important because I mean, the reality is, look, we pick a sport that's outdoors, that's going to be impacted by so many things. We're often traveling to locations. We have people around us, that can impact what happens on that day. And so just you can't make it perfect. Like you can't force it to be perfect. There's too many things that can go wrong. But I love how you're just saying, just take a deep breath, calm down, reset, have a plan, go back to your plan, know how you're going to handle something when it doesn't go right, because that's just a reality that over the course of however long you're on, you're out there, whether it's 8 hours or 16 hours, stuff happens. That's a long time, and things can go wrong during, before, so knowing how to
And I mean, it's racing long distance, definitely. It really goes through a life moment. You're
yeah,
going to experience things similarly on race day. I used something that I was taught to me was improvise and overcome. I have to say that's, you kind of want to always be open to new things that you can incorporate to overcome something that is maybe slowing you down or stopping you from moving forward. And so during that pre-race, that's what you want to do. Maybe work is going to keep you a lot later, and well, that's life, and that's your life anyway. So just try to make sure that those hours of sleep are good. So maybe um, reading a book before going to sleep is going to really help you have a better sleep. Well, take those 10 minutes if you know you're going to have a much better sleep than just saying, oh, I have to go to bed. It's already, I wanted to hit 8 hours and I'm only going to get 7. Well, maybe if you get 650 and by reading your book or um, listening to a music that helps you sleep better, you get those 650 of really quality sleep is going to help.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the same on the race. We are lucky that we have 8 stations pretty frequently. It's a good way to say, let's work through this to the next 8 station, and that is going to be my reset. So in your plan, when you prepare for the week and the race, it's kind of prepare for those moments where you can reset into your week and into your race. That's like this, you kind of create that open door in your mind that at some point in your race, you're going to have to do that reset to move again forward and kind of get away from that difficulty that you were trying to avoid or that you are into, and that is part of the challenge that you're looking for. And again, that is going to be at the end of the day when you actually overcome and you have that reset and improvisation that you overcome, that brings out a new strength in you. And I think it is one of the best race memory you're going to have. And I think that's something we've already discussed together in my maybe podcast of favorite race. That's how I picked my favorite race, was because I don't even know how I overcame that challenge. And I still to this date, sometimes I'm like, how was I able to run that last 5K the way I did after what I went through before it. And it will always be one of the best memory that I have of my racing. But I was in the lead by a lot, and I ended up to be back in fifth or sixth, or I don't know, but then I came back to fourth again. Um, and the regular and I guess would have been very, very upset for not taking that first spot that I could have had, but just the way I was able to deal with going from first to falling completely apart, where I was having a really good day, and then for a way that I don't know how to explain, but I know I did my reset. I used aid station, I walk, and then use aid station, and then suddenly I was able to compete again at the end, and even finished at a sprint. So when you were not able to run at some point, and you can say that last K you did it, like the last 5K were fast, and the last 1K was even faster, and sprinting at the end, I don't know, but it came out. So by allowing yourself to reset and use what you have, like the aid station for us is very important. Don't underestimate it, because you can always reset and move forward. And
Yeah.
I think you can write back on the podcast, but you can tell me, yes, this is one of my best races when I overcame this challenge.
Yeah. I mean,
That
reset,
really did.
overcome rather
Yeah.
than quitting, which is the other
Yeah.
option. And that's, eh, everyone always regrets making that choice. So I
Yeah.
want to thank you very much, Anne, for coming on. And for those of you who are still listening right now, if you do have any questions that Anne didn't talk about today, feel free to pop them into the comments box, and we'd be happy to have Anne come back on and answer some more questions, because you have, just between your racing and coaching, have so many good experiences to share. And so I really
Thank
appreciate
you
you
so
coming
much
on today.
for
Thank
having
you.
me, Rim. Always a pleasure. Thank you.